Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Moonrise Human Design YouTube channel. My name is Nadia, and I'm sitting right across from Samantha Fotenhauer. And we're
Hello.
going to show you today how you can really start to learn human design. When you first find the system, as many of you are on YouTube, starting to digest all of the different materials, it can be really complex and a lot of information. So in this video today, you can expect to receive an outline of the way that we really encourage people to unpack and learn the system. And there's a very nuanced and specific way as to why we teach certain concepts first and then why we teach certain concepts later. We will also be unpacking our human design training, which is a program that we teach fairly infrequently, getting into all the specifics and the details of this incredible system. So whether you're planning to take this course or not, we would still encourage you to really dive into this episode and this video so that you can learn more about how to approach the system. And if you've already joined human design training, you can watch this and learn a bit more about what to expect in the course.
Human design training, as Nadia said, it's a 4-month deep dive course, and we've put so much thought into how do you share a system as complex and nuanced as human design. And in doing this, we want to show you like how we conceptualized it, the things that we would cover first. So if you're a student and you're self-studying or studying through other things, this is the order in which we recommend understanding it. And taking in the information. And we also want to show people that human design has so much to offer. A lot of people learn about their energy type, which is an amazing place to start, but they think, oh, I'm a manifesting generator. I got it. Maybe they also learn about their profile. I'm a 4-1, or their authority. I'm emotional. And then they think that's it. And that's how I thought. I was like, okay, that's it. And when I first joined my first human design course, I was like, cool, I'm just going to learn about other people, what it means to be a projector. And I get in there and there's so much. And knowing that can feel a little bit overwhelming, but can also be really exciting because there's so much richness in this. Nadia and I had both been studying the system for many years. I found it about 6 years ago, and every year it just opens more and more. So we're hoping this will provide some framework for those who are interested in HDT. That's the acronym Human Design Training. We start September 4th, and it is takes place at 7 p.m. Central Time, or no, 6:30 p.m. Central Time, 4:30 Pacific time, 7:30 Eastern time on Zoom. And so sign up before then. Early bird pricing ends August 1st. We'd love to have you. And then we'll have this on recording starting in 2025.
And if you've been connecting with our energy and want to just hold space with us every week, that's really what human design training is about. It's about sitting with like-minded seekers and Sam and I and really getting to know us. We have a deep relationship with every single person who's joined our human design trainings in the past. There have been dozens of people that we've had the great privilege to connect with. Actually, before sitting down and hitting record for this video, Sam and I did a short meditation and we were connecting with all of the people that we've had the privilege to share this space with. And that's really part of the investment as well, is just having that really sacred space to share together. So we would love for you to join us live. That's really a big part of it, are the relationships that you form.
Yeah, I'm glad you raised that, Nadia, because Nadia and I have been teaching this class for almost 3 years, I think. This is our 4th round of it. We offer it about once a year because it's a large time and energy investment from us. So it lasts for 16 weeks, 16 different classes. Each class is 2.5 hours long. We put together a huge wealth of content, and then we're together. And it's so different. I learned human design in a pre-recorded, and it's still wonderful if that's your best option, but I wish I had a live option because one, you can just ask questions. And like this is a dense information, it's confusing, and having teachers to ask questions to is huge. But two, it really is a community. Like one of our human design training alumni told us recently that she still meets with people from her class from a year and a half ago every month. There are people who still talk on a weekly basis that met in human design training. And so it's really this opportunity to connect with other people who are on a path. Most of us don't know a lot of people in real life who are interested in these things. And it's really, really meaningful to have this part of you that's like the curious part of you have other people to explore with.
Absolutely. So Sam, shall we get into the outline of how we recommend people really learn and unpack human design?
Love to. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. This is human design training we hosted on Google Classroom. Um, for our class, we have a syllabus, we have resources. I would encourage anyone learning human design to find a few different people to consume content from, maybe a few different voices on a podcast or YouTube channels, just because everybody has their own perspective. Nadia and I even have disagreements and differences of approaches. Human design is rather subjective. In our class, we talk about the different chart software options. There's a lot of places you can grab charts from. We have classmates. And then we have bonus content. We'll come to that later. We get into how we organize each of the different weeks. And the way that we start week one, this is a 2023 course, is we start with centers. And I actually pulled up our first week and I wanted to bring up this anatomy of a body graph chart because these are all the core pieces. Most people know that their energy type if they're interested in human design. You know that you're a projector. You know that you're a manifesting generator. But what makes you that? And what makes you that are actually these things. Where your centers are, these shapes, what those even are, whether they're defined, which means colored in, or open or undefined, white. What determines whether centers are defined or open are channels and gates. This is really cool, really complex information that makes human design so rich. And what determines your type are actually like where the channels are and what they're connecting. We won't go into all of that here because that's the purpose of the course. But where I would start is first just like getting definitions of these core things. When people reference them, you know what they mean. And then actually start with centers. So once you have a sense of your energy type, which you can go and listen. If you're a projector, go listen to our projector video. If you're a generator, go listen to that. Then I would go into and understand what centers are. Nadia, anything you want to add?
That I think that this is actually a really foundational piece of human design because as you start to learn about human design and maybe you find out that you're a generator, you'll start to realize there are very different types of generators that exist depending on the center definition. Basically, what shapes are colored in versus what shapes are white. So within each energy type, there's actually a wide variance in energetic subtleties and differences and nuances. And so by teaching the centers first, we are really placing our stake in the ground and saying that this is the most foundational element of human design. And it's very interesting because many people start, as Sam was saying, with energy type, profile, or authority. So this is a huge shift in kind of relearning the basic building blocks of human design that will set you up to really be able to look at a chart and say, I know exactly how to understand the energy of the person that I'm reading in this moment.
If you were trying to learn to read, you could memorize certain words. A lot of little kids will do that. They'll memorize what certain words mean, but they won't know what the letters are. And once you go and learn the letters, then you can sound things out on your own and you can start to construct like what a word is and supposed to be. And that's kind of like what learning the centers are. If you don't, or another way, if like you wanted to build a home, like you would need to understand some basic like construction work first. Like how do you build a foundation of the house? Centers are that. And then if you don't understand centers, it's really hard to actually understand what authorities are or what energy types are. They don't really fully make sense until you get this foundational piece. And it also allows you to understand why you could have two projectors or two generators, and yet they're so different and their charts look super different because the centers provide this incredible amount of nuance and depth into understanding the system. And just as a high level, centers are energetic energy hubs, and they really dictate how we impact people, how we're impacted by others, how we take in information like emotions, intellectual information, how we express our identity, how we manage stress, anxiety, and fear. All of that is governed by centers. So in our class, we actually spend 3 weeks, so 7.5 hours of class time, just diving into what the centers are. We, of course, do an overview of the different ways to read centers, languaging, the functions of centers, and then we get into the actual system. So what the root center is, where in the body it relates to, what it means if you have a colored in root center, the challenges, the ways to work with it, and then open center, the gifts of it, etc.
Yeah. So Sam, for the sake of time, where else would somebody go? Because we're not able on this video to go into depth for every single aspect, but where would people go next after centers? Where would we encourage them to learn?
After centers, then I would go into energy type. And I would go into energy type next because one, it's the most like day-to-day useful. And once you understand centers, then you can fully get the energy type. You can understand why we have energy types have strategies. They have not self and signatures that basically signs that you're in the right place and like almost like a like a daily tool and manual to actually live out your energy type, but you won't really fully understand it until you get the centers. But once you have that info, you're ready. And then that's a great place to learn because one, it allows you to start working with it right away and understanding other people. Two, everyone's talking about it in human design, so you can participate in a deeper way. And three, understanding the energy type then builds on the rest of the material. So after that, we go into authority, which is we spend 2 weeks on energy type. Authority is how you make decisions. Two types could have the same authority. So I'm an emotional manifesting generator. You could also have an emotional projector and an emotional manifester. And even though we all have an emotional authority, we make decisions in relationship with our emotions and this concept called an emotional wave. It applies very differently because of our type. And so when you have the energy type context, then you get this like it's a much greater level of understanding of the authorities, which comes next. But to do authorities, you also need centers. So there's like a layering that happens here.
It's very much the house building analogy, where it's like we very strategically build the foundation so that we can have strong structural elements, and then we start building the external pieces of the home so that it protects the internal pieces. Like it's all built very strategically, which then
Then you go into profiles. What, Nadia?
gets us to
Yeah,
profiles.
then you get into profiles, the 6 profile lines. We have videos on each of the 12 profiles. I would definitely encourage checking that out. It's really useful information. And then we go into gates. I'm not sh I haven't heard of any other course that spends as much time into gates as we do. And this course, we're actually doing something different. So we usually spend about 12 hours lecturing on gates. All the popular courses spend like 2 to 3 hours. We go into it a much, much deeper level. I think it's absolutely necessary. So gates are the numbers on the sides of your chart and the numbers in the centers when you're looking at the chart. And they tell you at a very specific level your biggest gifts, your biggest themes for your life, the stories that you're like the story timelines you're here to play, and they're mind-blowing. Like they're so fascinating, they're so interesting. It's a really cool thing and it's really hard to find information about them. You can't like Google this and get good information. It's really hard to find it on Instagram or other free resources just because of how many there are and the depth of them. And because there's so much there, we like to provide a lot of content on. What we're doing this year is we're pre-recording all of our gates content. And this is because it's so much information that we want people to have the opportunity to listen for 45 minutes and say, okay, that's enough. I'm going to pause and reflect and I'll come back to it rather than sitting in a long lecture where it's a ton of info. Something we care a lot about in human design training is being mindful of all different learning styles and what's most supportive in accommodating those different styles. Then each week during the 5 gate weeks, we'll meet for an hour and a half and just have open discussion. And people with the gates can share their personal examples. This is huge because it allows you to get in real life examples of what it feels like to have that gift and that energy, which takes this very abstract, nuanced, complex characterization of how energy moves. Human design is all about how energy moves. And so we sometimes don't have all the language for it. And it brings it down in concrete examples that you can like integrate and use and understand for yourself.
Absolutely. Gates are so magical, and I cannot stress this point enough that there is no other human design training that we know of that goes into such depth and specificity of gates. And then
So
It's
Just as a quick example, we always start, by the way, with like housekeeping and review and an agenda so you know where we're going. We recap to get the repetition. We recap really important ideas like the rave mandala, what channels are, and then we go into the gates and we have, a lot of content and examples of what the gates are and what they mean.
because just so everyone knows, every gate has the context of the circuitry that it's a part of and the channel that it's a part of. So there's so much layered and nuanced information that's coming into the fold. And having the live space to ask questions about gates is invaluable. It is so helpful to recognize what's the difference in energetic composition of this gate versus this gate. And can you put that into context?
A lot of people will wanna go right into gates, and I get why it's fascinating, and if that's where you're called, go at it. I think it's really important to follow your intuition, but if you're somebody who's really studying human design and you're just like, "I love the system and I wanna understand it," you gotta start with centers, because understanding the gate and what a gate is requires you to understand the center because the gates live in a center, and so all the gates in one center have this relationship with the theme of that center. And it helps give a much more like greater understanding. The skates also are tied to astrological signs. We bring in some conversation of that. You don't have to understand astrology or know anything about it to take part in this. It's just a cool way to conceptualize it. And then we go into incarnation cross. And this is your life path, your top four gates, your sun and earth, the top two numbers on each side. Nadia loves incarnation cross. Could you just share on this for a moment?
Yeah, the incarnation cross, if this is the first time you're hearing about this concept in human design, it makes sense because there's not very much content at all about it. And it's something that we really pride ourselves that we cover it in this training course. And understanding the pieces of your incarnation cross and how they weave together is so affirming for people's life paths, where they've gone, and recognizing like, oh, I was actually on track this whole time. And this like deep sense of affirming and like sense of direction moving forward. So it won't spell out specifically the job that you're here to have, but more so the energy and the frequency that you're here to embody. And that might just sound like words right now, but I can tell you every single person in our training that reads about and learns about their incarnation cross feels a deep sense of purpose and fulfillment by understanding it.
Mm. They're amazing. And just by the way, if you are like, I want to learn about all these things with my human design, but I'm not ready to study, you should really consider purchasing a guidebook from us or booking a reading. The guidebooks are amazing because we have info on all of this. We have like 20 pages just dedicated to your centers. We have 8 pages just dedicated to your energy type, pages on your authority. We have your top four gates that make up your incarnation cross, your channels. So you can get a lot of information from there. And then I'm not just saying this because we love to offer them. Like, I cannot overemphasize how valuable a reading is. There's so much synthesis and so much intuition and such an energy activation that comes from getting a good human design reading. So if you've ever been called to that, take this as a sign. And then the last thing I want to just note that I would do this last for anyone studying in their own path. And in our class, we have it as a bonus, is we have all this bonus content on variables, on arrows, the four transformations. This is motivation, determination, view. These are complex human design topics. I personally don't think they're really worth looking into until you're many years into the study, just because I think they're a distraction from like the most important things to start implementing. Though I encourage everybody to follow their curiosity. We talk about just like extra content with gates and channels. We have cheat sheets and other ways to support learning. We talk about splits, planetary placements. We do extra profiles. We do example human design readings, finding your own unique reading style, reading and integrity. So people who want to take this course because they want to do readings, we have a bunch of extra support.
Yeah, the ethical considerations. There's just so much information here. I hope that by hearing us talk today, and Sam, if you want to like bring us back into the screen, yay. I just hope that by hearing us talk today, you can feel our genuine passion and our genuine desire to share human design in a way that's accessible, in a way that does not skimp over the depth of what the system can offer. And basically, it's a course dedicated to how much more can you love yourself? How much more Can you understand yourself? How much more can you recognize your own brilliance and own it in the world? And then how can you start to study everybody else in your life? So we have many people in our classes who will print off all their family members' charts and reference them as we go through the different concepts and realize, oh, that's why my dad was that way, or that's actually what I can see in my child, or whatever else it is. It's a really wonderful system for just feeling more at ease and at peace about who you are.
It helped me fight up against these parts of me that were always there, but for some reason I decided that they were wrong, and then get to acceptance and then get to like genuinely loving them and seeing that they're actually highly, highly valuable. Like it would be silly to not take advantage of this trait, but because I was viewing it from the mindset that I was, it felt like a bad thing. And I think that's the real power of the system. And then it allows you to do that to others too. So you can look at this trait that a parent or a sibling has that maybe you've had friction with, and you can see it from this other perspective and see how, wow, you might operate so differently than that person. And that when they act like that, it's not personal to you. It actually makes a lot of sense in the context of who they are. And how wonderful is it to have people that you love walk into the room with you and be able to actually accept them more rather than like loving them, but like kind of fighting against who they are. And said like, I love you and I accept you. And this, the ripples that that has in your life. Maybe we can close this. I can read a testimonial that somebody shared. So this is just, it's a screenshot. It's actually on, if you want to see more of what people think, go to our Instagram, Moonrise Community, and we share tons of testimonials, candid, that people just shared with us because they love this course. And in this, I said, is there anything else you'd like to share? This person said, HGT has been life-changing for me. I'm looking at myself, others, and life in new ways and feel like my mental, emotional, and spiritual self grew by leaps and bounds, and my body has benefited from the wisdom I am learning. Thank you for putting this training together with the monthly payments so this was able to work for me, and for the depth of materials and resources offered. This has truly been a gift. I knew I would learn more about human design, but I never thought I would be so seen and valued and cared for as I was through HCT. Sam and Nadia, you're both powerhouses of wisdom and examples of self-love, and you both create something magical for us. Thank you.
Mm. This person so well. It's so sweet. And that's an important point, that you don't have to pay for the course upfront. There's actually a payment plan that starts on the day of class with an upfront deposit. So if that's a way that would feel better for you and your financial situation, we offer that as well. And yeah, it really is so much more than a course. It is a weekly structure of spirituality.
And connection, and like it's, and there's something really powerful from spending hours each week around people who are committed to their growth and to love. Like there's people always say it's like I got plugged into a wall. Like there's just like I got this beautiful burst of energy and this whole new perspective, and it just opened my mind. So we'd love to have you. If you have any questions, you can always DM us at Moonrise Community. You can email us hello@moonrisecommunity.com. You can check out our website. We have tons of info on there. And you're welcome into our world in any capacity. We host human design workshops. We have a badass podcast with deep human design takes that's very different than YouTube, called Moonrise. We offer all sorts of things, and we just love connecting in any way.
We can't wait to hear from you.